In honor of the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, I thought it would be a good time to take a quick break from the film and television career of Stone Cold Steve Austin and take a look at the very brief acting career of one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, the late great Owen Hart. Youngest of the 12 Hart siblings, Owen was one of the most dynamic, technically proficient, and all-out hilarious performers of his time, and I was excited to explore any other media he may have done outside of wrestling. Aside from some house show footage used in 1997 Bollywood crime thriller Arya Par, where Owen's main event match with Big Daddy Cool Diesel starts a riot in the arena, and also notably features Brett vs. Yokozuna, Savio Vega, Chris Candido's butt, and who are these guys again? Owen's only other acting credit is appearing in the 8th episode of the 2nd season of Disney Family television series Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, alongside his brother, Bret the Hitman Hart, whose own acting career we will definitely be talking about in future episodes. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a monster hit franchise in the 90s, producing 2 blockbuster theatrical releases, Disney's first ever live-action direct-to-video sequel, a syndicated television series, and several Disney park attractions that lasted decades beyond the movie's popularity. Most notably, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movie set adventure, a location in which I had the pleasure of scaring the ever-loving crap out of my family by getting lost in. Created by Stuart Gordon, Brian Usna, and Ed Naha, the minds behind such beloved family classics as Reanimator, Society, and Dolls, our story centers around Wayne Szalinski, a brilliant scientist and criminally negligent father who nearly murders his entire family on several occasions. Be it by leaving his technologically advanced, unstable superweapon in an unlocked room, leaving his child unattended in a highly volatile scientific laboratory, and years later deciding to once again reactivate the unwieldy agent of destruction in order to hide a tacky sculpture from his wife. Each film has a similar structure, with Diane, the eponymous Honey, trying to get as far away from her eccentric husband as possible.
And Mom spent the night at Grandma's, like she just needed a rest.
Don't worry, Dad. She'll get there, realize there's nothing to do, turn around, and come right back.
Yeah, this house is driving me crazy. I really need this vacation.
At which point Wayne immediately proves himself to be reliably careless by putting all of their lives in jeopardy, delivers his classic catchphrase,
I shrunk the kids. I blew up the baby.
Which likely leads to numerous concussions. The television series, aptly named Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show, would serve as a soft reboot to the franchise, with an all-new cast picking up shortly after the events of the first film. Peter Scolari, of Bosom Buddies fame, would take on the lead role as a stoic and slightly more arrogant version of Rick Moranis' hapless milksop Wayne Szalinski, and the opening scene of the pilot sets the stage with Wayne refusing to hire a moving company and at this point just straight up using his shrink ray like Homer Simpson with a handgun. After neglecting to tell his family that he, for some reason, set the effects of the shrink ray to wear off after a dangerously short window of time, the family is forced into a mad dash to unload the furniture before being crushed to death, but end up playing it way too close for comfort and placing every item of furniture in their exact spot up until the last second of their allotted time instead of reasonably running for their lives. It's established pretty quickly that the Szalinskis have essentially become adrenaline junkies, eager for their next fix at the hands of whatever havoc Wayne's latest inventions may reap. And to be honest, in terms of an ongoing episodic series, it's a much more stable scenario having the family complicit in Wayne's madness, as opposed to being held hostage to the existential horror of his unrelenting drive for scientific supremacy.
What could be more important than your family, Richard?
Science?
As much as one might assume that the Disney family franchise centered around science and engineering may make some small attempt to include an educational component to the stories, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids doesn't even stick within the confines of science fiction, quickly veering off into episodes about ghosts, leprechauns, and of course, professional wrestling. In Honey, I'm Wrestling with a Problem, and The Chief, eldest daughter and sudden wrestling superfan Amy Szalinski is distraught to find out that her 2 favorite wrestlers, Bret and Owen Hart, will be competing in her hometown this weekend, but the tickets to the event have already sold out. Luckily, Bret and Owen just happened to be hanging out in front of her high school for some reason, ready to confirm her extreme fandom.
You're the one that writes to us so much. Like every week or something. She doesn't look crazy. Thought you might be a stalker. 2 more letters, we're gonna turn them all over to the feds.
And offer free tickets to the event.
They're great seats. In fact, we sweat a lot, so you might want to bring a towel.
In return, Amy invites them over to dinner with her family.
Does your family dress for dinner?
Yes, we do.
Good, we hate to eat naked.
Meanwhile, Wayne's feeling insecure about Amy's obsession with professional wrestlers and decides to deal with this problem by creating a dangerous robot and later being a condescending dick to his dinner guests.
Well, it's not like you two exert yourselves the way Olympic athletes do.
This results in the Harts taking the Zelinskis out back to demonstrate how real wrestling really is. After some impeccable chain wrestling and a delayed nerve hold, the boys offer to teach Diane and the Chief a few basic moves and get immediately injured and are unable to compete at the big event. Geez, who wrote this? Vince Russo and Ed Ferreira? Wayne and the Chief are then tasked with taking Brett and Owen's place in the upcoming match against the Executioners, a fictional team of old-school bad guy wrestlers who also happen to be bad guys in real life.
The wrestling term is heels, and they are not.
Oh, sorry, Miss Zelinski. At this point, Brett and Owen completely bail from the episode, and hilarity ensues with remote control muscle suits, two kids pretending to be an adult in a trench coat, and a climax recycled from a 60-year-old Three Stooges bit. One of the stranger aspects of Brett and Owen's appearance on the show is the fact that both wrestlers were actually working for separate companies at the time of shooting, Brett having recently moved to WCW while Owen remained in WWE. In his autobiography, Hitman, My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling, Brett remarks on the experience. I got a script to do a Disney series called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, in which I played myself. There was also a part for a Hart brother, and I got Owen the job so we could spend some time together. Owen couldn't have been happier. In an interview with Newsweek in May of 2020, while discussing Owen's potential career aspirations outside of wrestling, Owen's wife, Dr. Martha Hart, commented on his small role in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, remembering that he had found acting fun, and it was something she could have seen him transitioning into in time. Unlike Wayne Zelinski, Owen Hart was well known as a loving and devoted husband and father. Although phenomenally gifted in the ring, Owen was much more than just a professional wrestler, and his legacy lives on today through the tireless efforts of the Owen Hart Foundation, helping those in need and making a difference around the world. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show, aired for 3 seasons and has largely been forgotten in the grand scheme of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids franchise as they prepare for their upcoming reboot, Shrunk, currently in production. At a 44-minute runtime, despite the best efforts of its central cast, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the TV show, is not something I would really recommend overall. But for his few minutes of screen time, it was more than worth it for the time well spent with Owen. And that concludes our look back at Owen Hart in
Wrestling Rampage.
Join us next time as we continue our journey through the career of Stone Cold Steve Austin across the lawless pop culture wasteland that was the late 90s. All this and more next time on Headlock Cinema.
You'll have to excuse my brother. Amy Zelinski.
Heck, I grew up with Vern Gagne, Yukon Moose Kolak, Dick the Bruiser.
Well, we are sick of eating at restaurants. Are there any more potatoes down there? Somebody took the last piece of meat. For a bright guy, you're sure not too smart.